Today's video was selected for you by my gorgeous patrons, so thank you very much to them for making this selection. And if you would like to be involved in future video polls and also have access to the Discord, the one card riff video every month and other privileges as well, check out the tiers. I will leave all the information down below. Hey there, sunflowers. Welcome to my channel, and thank you so much for joining me for this overview of the personalities of the court cards. The first thing I want to say before we get started on anything is that for me, the court cards are not representative of people, not necessarily. They can be representative of personality traits, they can be representative of situations, they can be representative of your responses to different things that happen, they can represent different parts of you. And they can be representative of other people as well. It depends the style in which you read tarot and what you personally believe about the court cards. But I do not go in for that hyper-traditionalist view that the court cards always represent other people in your situation or in the situation of the querent. So I want to make that really clear. The reason that I'm going to be taking you through personality types of the court cards today is not because I'm encouraging you to think only of these as being representative of other people and types of people, but more so because it's very useful as a way to be able to lean into what the court cards mean if you imagine them as having personality types. And I actually think this is true of the entirety of the tarot deck. I think every card has a personality. I think Justice has a personality. I think Three of Swords has a personality. So I just want to make that clear. I'm not going through the personalities of the court because I want you to think of them as people. Far from it. Like representative of people, okay? So let's talk about the four different categories in terms of elements, okay? So earth, air, fire and water, what do they roughly mean? I'm going to spend very, very little time on this. Let's be super quick. So earth, represented by the suit of Pentacles, that's your kind of like building and developing material success and physical embodiment kind of energy. There's stability there, there's foundations there, etc. There's safety in that theme. Air, which is represented by the suit of swords, that's more your kind of mind stuff, you know, thinking, debating, ideas, mental development, mental clarity, and also, of course, mental anguish and confusion, etc. Then you've got your fire, represented by the suit of wands. That's your creating, your vision, your energy, your doing, you know, your manifesting. It's your inspiration. It's also your temperament, that kind of stuff. And then cups, represented water, rather represented by the suit of cups. That's your feeling, your connecting, your intuiting, your emotions. So that's basically what the four elements roughly represent, and everybody needs to go on their own journey with the four elements. I'm just being super brief here. Now I want to talk to you about the four different members of the court in any one deck, okay? So let me just grab a group of these cards just to make it clear. So each member of all four courts has a different kind of energy to them, okay? You've got the pages. The pages are usually representative of a receptive or eager or curious energy. We're thinking about an energy that is ready to learn, excited, big visions for the future, open to different ideas. Pages are not usually rigid. They are embracing the significance of the beginning. They're not likely to be held back by former situations that didn't go well. So we're thinking about like the first year of a 4-year university degree where you're full of piss and vinegar and you're just going for it, right? You're exploring. Now, in the shadow aspect, pages can definitely be naive, inexperienced, timid, or overconfident, one or the other, right? They can be nervous, they can be unsure, they can be immature, they might feign capabilities, they might be overly reliant on others. Again, imagine the shadows that would come up in a 4-year university degree. That's kind of one of the ways that I like to think of the court, as the 4 years of a course of study. Pages, think about what would be going on when you first begin something. Those would be the shadows that would be prevalent. Now the knights also all share a specific type of personality. The qualities of the knights are ambition, curiosity, daring, go-getting, very determined, very resourceful, okay? So we're thinking about that second year now of the 4-year course of study, where we've sort of started to get our bearings a little bit, and we can be more action-oriented, and we're not afraid of pursuing success. We can see the aim a bit more clearly, and we're a bit more brave, and we're a bit more motivated. The flaws of the knights in all of the 4 courts are impatience, overconfidence, bullheadedness, single-mindedness. We're thinking about sort of like self-importance. We're thinking about reckless risk-taking. We're thinking about arrogance. Those are kind of the shadows. The queens in each of the 4 courts, they also share personality traits in general. So queens, usually when they're operating consciously, when they're operating positively, would be reflective, knowledgeable, independent, intuitive, self-possessed, self-assured, assertive, mature. Queens rule their inner world, They are autonomous and wise. But the flaws of the queens would be, very perfectionistic, very micromanaging, self-opinionated, not a great team player, sort of more about what they want. On the other end with the shadow, you can think about self-doubt coming up, imposter syndrome coming up, feeling like, there's an inferiority complex there or a superiority complex. I think the shadow can go either way with the queens. And the queens can be quite overzealous, quite quick to make judgments, sort of very focused on personal goals, neglecting the collective goals. Kings also in every single court share somewhat of a personality. Kings are usually passionate, they're focused, they're very active, they have mastery over their subjects and mastery over their subject, right, over their passion. Kings tend to be pragmatic, they're responsible, they're reliable, they have leadership ability, and they are goals and results oriented. They rule their outer world, right? They take what they know and they apply it to material reality in some way. The flaws of the kings are usually have some overlap as well. So the flaws would include being tyrannical, being bossy, being selfish, being out of touch, not really liking compromise, not very enjoying taking advice, okay? A king in shadow is going to be like, my way or the fucking highway, okay? Might find it difficult to ask for help, for sure, and may focus on collective goals at the expense of personal goals. So the opposite of the queen, who would focus on the personal at the expense of the collective. When in shadow, the king would focus on the collective or the external goal and neglect the inner work. So those are the kind of qualities and flaws of each of the pages, knights, queens, and kings in the deck. Usually, okay? Now, everyone's going to have different sorts of opinions. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, I know exactly what I mean, and this is always how it is. So please don't come at me, all right? I've been in this game for long enough to know that there's at least one person who's going to want to feel very, very king in shadow and come at me like a king in shadow. And frankly, I don't have time for it. I'm a tarot teacher. I've been a tarot teacher for a long time. I'm trying to give you things to go on. Okay, that's what's happening here. I'm not saying that's the be all and end all, and that's the only type of personality spectrum that can come about with any of these. Obviously, do your own explorations, lean in, figure out what things mean for you. Okay, I'm just giving you sort of a generalization. So remember that 4-year uni degree, that's something I always teach my students of tarot, to think of it like, the pages of the piss and vinegar, inexperienced but enthusiastic. And then we've got the knights. The knights are more kind of like really motivated, determined, sort of has an aim for the vision now. Queens are really sort of like reflective, steadfast, very much more in the driver's seat, and really kind of got that balance going where you really can sort of work hard, play hard. King of Cups, that 4th year of the uni degree, that's where you're getting ready for the workforce. You are getting ready to put what you've learned into practice. You're getting ready to master something in a literal way, in the outer world, okay? Now, all of these personalities, they're not rigid. Please don't think of it like that. They can interplay with each other, especially the pages and knights and the kings and queens. Pages and knights, I think there's a lot of overlap. Kings and queens, there can be quite a bit of overlap. All right, so with this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about each of the 16 court cards from my very personal perspective. I'm going to share basically my journey with each of them a little bit, and you'll be able to see how I sort of fell in love with some of them at first sight and how I clearly had others of them that I needed to work on. Okay, so we're going to get very honest about my feelings about the personalities of each of the court cards, and I'll give you a little bit of understanding what I feel about each of them in terms of like, who are these figures, you know? What kinds of qualities do they represent? What kinds of things are they trying to say when they come up? What are the traits, the flaws, the strengths, etc.? And this can really, really help you with your reading process, you know, leaning into the court, feeling an intimacy with the court on an intellectual and emotional level really levels you up, especially because so many people are nervous of court cards. There are many, 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 many tarot students who the first thing they say when I say, what's going on? Where do we need to troubleshoot? They will say, the court, the 16 members of the court. Across the 4 elements. I'm confused, Kellyanne. So let's go through the personality types and see if it helps you to kind of like connect in a different way. Okay, so let's begin with the Pentacles. The deck that I'm using, by the way, darlings, is the Dreaming Way Tarot. It's one of my favorite tarot decks of all time. I've had it for many a moon now, and I really, really enjoy the imagery. So that's the deck I'm working with for this particular video. So remember what we said originally about Earth, what it represents, what kind of vibe it's giving. You know, Pentacles are representative of Earth. So tune in first of all to the elemental qualities for this particular court. And now we're going to go through and discuss the personalities a little bit. So the Page of Pentacles, the Earth page. For me, this page is enthusiastic and a fast learner. We're thinking about an eager pupil here with big personal ambitions, especially in the material and physical realm. Okay, so financial ambitions, career ambitions, ambitions regarding physical health and well-being, ambitions regarding home and material possessions. I think Page of Pentacles is particularly eager to sharpen their skills, you know. Charmingly nerdy, I think. That could be said of a couple of the pages, but I definitely think Page of Pentacles, because of that naked ambition, you know, probably does inspire others around them to get their shit together and start focusing on goals. For the most part, I think this page stays pretty humble about their achievements, but does keep track of them and does make sure they're always improving. So maybe a little bit hard on themselves, I think, this page. And good at visualizing the aim and holding the high vision of what can be achieved, you know. Staying plugged into the why, I think, is very important for this page. Looking into the shadows for Page of Pentacles, I think, you know, this page might have a one-track mind about what they're engaged in. They might need some fun. They might be easily swayed as well by what society thinks they should do or what society thinks they should want, rather than going for what they want, you know. So a little bit of worries about perception. I do think that it's possible that the Page of Pentacles may need to drop into their passion and their inspiration and their creativity a bit more. They could be a little bit like sort of fuddy-duddy and straightforward about whatever it is they're doing, whatever they're approaching. I do think Page of Pentacles could be risking rigidity. The real thing doesn't have to look the same as what's in the imagination, and Page of Pentacles can get hung up on that, wanting everything to be perfect and therefore not starting. I do think that Page of Pentacles could be impatient. I think all the pages really can be impatient. But again, that desire, that vision, that desire to see something actually coming to manifestation could cause this particular page to be a bit like, come on, I want to see it now, you know? And so there is that need to practice patience. Knight of Pentacles, what's going on there? So the Knight of Pentacles is usually very sensible, solid, steadfast, reliable, quite cautious, I think, quite methodical. I think ambitious, but quietly. I think the Knight of Pentacles has learned to keep it on the down low and just be sort of like, you know, calm with it. I think that Knight of Pentacles is a bit of a self-improvement junkie, especially in areas of like work and health and money and stuff like that. Quite balanced person, good at helping you solve problems without resorting to extremes or biased opinions, so quite level-headed. And then I definitely think with Knight of Pentacles as well, that there's an appreciation there for the simple things and for really sort of taking things to a place where they're uncomplicated and they can get done without too much fuss and without too much elaborate stuff happening. The shadows of Knight of Pentacles. Knight of Pentacles can definitely be very frugal. Little bit, again, needs some fun. Needs to sort of like, you know, chill out and have a bit of a party. Definitely too serious about life. That's one of the main shadows, I think, of this particular Knight. Not comfortable with changes to the plan. Doesn't really operate well when it comes to like spontaneity or like last minute changes. Probably doesn't like that shit, to be honest. Quite straight-laced, needs to stick to discipline way too much, you know. Very perfectionistic, I think. I think if this Knight forgets something or doesn't complete a task, they are unnerved by that. They find it very difficult to get to grips with the fact that that's happened, and it will bother them. They will lie awake and think about it. Queen of Pentacles, very special card for me. Took me a long time to get used to this figure in tarot. I had a lot of hang-ups about this queen. I think the qualities of Queen of Pentacles, I mean, stable, consistent and realistic, not temperamental, very, again, steadfast emotionally. You know, you kind of know what you're getting with this queen when they're acting consciously, when they're acting in a positive way. Generally quite benevolent, quite reassuring. I think that this queen finds divinity in the mundane. Organized, good planner. You know, domestic bliss is important to this particular queen. I think that there's a bit of an overseer vibe with this queen, a mediator, bit of a housekeeper, voice of reason. One of the people who always has what you need in the bag, well prepared, you know what I mean? This is the ruler of both body and home. So if you think about like this particular queen being prepared, being aware in advance of what might need to happen and really sort of operating around that awareness, useful person to have around. The flaws for this queen, honestly, this queen can be a real fucking stick in the mud, you know, really sort of like too routine oriented, not adventurous. I think that this queen can be exacting, too perfectionistic. Perfectionism is linked to procrastination, so there's that problem going on. One of the other flaws of Queen of Pence could be, you know, too keen to indulge in earthly delights as a kind of escape sometimes, I think. You know, really sort of avoiding the emotional stuff by indulging. Maybe this queen might feel like material concerns are more important than spiritual concerns, or that they have to have done everything in the earthly realm and have that all under control before they can do anything like creative or spiritual or, you know, sort of like knowledge thirsting, I suppose. Like instead it's like, oh no, I need to get these things done. Well, these things will never all be done, you know. That's like the point. The chores and the obligations, they go on and on and on. We still have to find time to do these other things. So Queen of Pentacles, if operating in shadow, may die with a lot of art pieces inside them that they just never fucking started or finished because they didn't feel like they were allowed, you know. King of Pentacles, what is going on with King of Pentacles? This is a very, very interesting king. I think that the qualities are, you know, materially successful or materially ambitious, real go-getter, this king. Probably gives great business advice, great financial advice, great personal training advice, you know, anything in that kind of realm, the earthly realm. This king is sensible. This king is quite independent. This king is definitely into pleasurable earthly experiences. But if they're operating consciously, they don't really enjoy excess. You know, they like the balance of both things. Very good long-term planner, excited by material challenges rather than getting stressed or threatened by those material challenges. I think this king has sort of like infectious ambition. Do you know what I mean? This king really inspires others to take control and go for gold. The flaws, I think that this king could be a little bit too concerned with status or personal progress, too hyper focused on the material abundance thing as well, or the kind of like material achievement thing, and might judge other people actually if they're not up to scratch with their material ambitions or whatever. I think King of Pentacles might have an exacting standard not only for themselves but for others. Like maybe King of Pentacles would judge me if I didn't have my life together. Definitely a superiority complex when people are a little bit more chaotic or more freewheeling than this particular king is. Definitely King of Pentacles assumes that everybody wants the life that they are trying to create. And it's like, no, not necessarily, you know, very narrow idea basically of what constitutes a good life. And I think definitely this king pressures themselves to keep up with the ideal outcome and to keep up consistently with efforts. And that means that they can go into burnout, they can go into stress, all of that stuff. So that's that particular court, you know, a little bit about the qualities and a little bit about the flaws. What do you think? Is there anything there that you know you see in yourself? Is there anything there that you really think about these cards that you agree with? Is there anything that I didn't mention that you would like to mention in case others would like to pick up on that advice too? Like, obviously this video can only be so long, so I'd be really intrigued to know if there's anything that you feel is very prevalent with this particular court that came up. Okay, here we go, my darlings. We're going into air, the Court of the Swords. Very exciting. So obviously keep in mind what the nature of swords are in tarot, because everything is kind of linked to that, right? All of these personality types are linked to the theme and the energy of the element that they represent. So let's go into it. What is Page of Swords all about? This is my real piss and vinegar page, this one. This is the one who gets out there with all guns blazing, highly enthusiastic, big ideas and strong innovation, strong intellect. Definitely wants to cut through all the old crap that's not working anymore and bring brand new ideas and philosophies to the forefront. This page is a radical thinker. They have exciting notions that they explain probably in quite a tantalizing way. Expanding the cranium with all kinds of knowledge is the number one desire for this particular page. Tons of energy for understanding new concepts. And I think of this page as being a classic pechemonik. A pechemonik is a Russian word that means someone who constantly asks why. Why? I think Page of Swords is that particular individual in the class or in the conversation. Like, why is that? But what led to that? But let's have a look at that. Let's go deeper. I think of that as being a classic thing about this page. You know, so definitely an insatiable student. What are the flaws? Well, I think that Page of Swords has a risk of over-promising and under-delivering, you know. I think definitely Page of Swords envisions themselves as being able to do more than they can or deliver more than they can. And I also think with Page of Swords that, you know, they may tend to badger people with their constant need to know and to clarify, and that can get stressful. I think with Page of Swords, two things can be happening when Page is in shadow, okay? First of all, this page can be all mouth and no trousers, as my mum would like to say. You know, talks a big game, but doesn't have the fucking minerals when it's time for the action. That's definitely a shadow for this page, right? I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then when it comes to it, it's like, oh, I overslept. My alarm, how inconvenient. I'm so sorry I wasn't there for the battle. So that can definitely happen. On the other side, though, you know, sometimes this Page of Swords, when they're in shadow, can rush in where angels fear to tread, my darlings. You know, really blurting stuff out or taking reckless actions without much strategy, chomping at the bit, basically, without engaging their brain first. So that can definitely happen. And I think this page is definitely eager to prove that they are the most intelligent and they have the most promise, which can come across as cocky and arrogant. You know, this Page of Swords might say things that are not exactly true in order to big themselves up or whatever. So at best, that is going to be a play for control or a play for respect. At worst, it's going to be downright deceitful. Okay. So Knight of Swords, qualities and flaws. This knight is obviously moving, you know, at a speed whereby they want to achieve something. Fastest card in the deck, full momentum. This knight thinks on their feet, comes up with winning strategies quickly, very good at solving problems, very good at cracking codes, very good at completing puzzles, doesn't get stuck on details, not a procrastinator. So that's some of the glorious things about this knight. This knight lives by the third sutra of the Aquarian age. When the time is upon you, start, and the pressure will be off. You know, that's kind of the vibe I get very much from this knight. This knight keeps their eye on target and doesn't let distractions pull them off course. They believe in the mission. You know, that's one of the things too, is like the adamant sense of like, I know and I believe and I envision and I'm going to it and I'm giving it my fullness. So there's a lot of enthusiasm there and bravery, lots of bravery, you know. What are the flaws? This knight can be quite self-interested and doesn't mind mowing over people to get very quickly to the finish line. So definitely there is that sense that this knight can come across as lacking compassion and sensitivity. What do you think one of the other shadows is, chickens? What do you think it is? Impatience. Yes, this knight is going double quick time, and therefore one of the shadows, of course, is impatience. It's a big one. I mean, you know, look at this knight. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to work that one out. Knight of Swords can be not that great at honouring divine timing. You know, this knight becomes extremely frustrated if things aren't moving according to their ideal timeline, and they can be prone, therefore, to sulking and acting out. This knight can be incessant, insistent, and overbearing when they think they're in the right. I imagine that Knight of Swords is someone who takes debates way too far and makes arguments quite difficult because they will stubbornly peddle their point of view until the fucking cows come all the way home. Okay, and the reason I'm so confident that they do that is because I too have been known to do this. All right, I know the light and the shadow of this card. Moving on to Queen of Swords, my personal favourite queen. This queen is very self-possessed, very certain of her thoughts and beliefs. This queen is not easily swayed. They're not gullible. They're not prone to following trends or blindly believing what other people say. This is a steadfast queen, okay? Level-headed, clear communicator. This queen also is not afraid of calling out corruption or fighting for justice. They are actually a crusader for justice often. When they're operating in the light, when they're operating for good, this queen does not dumb down the wording to appease others, does not dumb down when it comes to intelligence. This queen wants to exude intelligence and probably has a way with words, you know, so they can create a very high impact when they're trying to convince others to bat for their same beliefs, you know. I think that this queen is a truth seeker who wants to cut to the heart of the matter. They want to cut through confusion. They want to reveal the reality of something. This is a highly perceptive and smart queen, good at analysing evidence, and really interested in clarity. The flaws of this queen can be quite insensitive, okay? When you are like very adamant, very clear, very convicted about something, you're going to be insensitive with your delivery of words sometimes or with your actions. So definitely overlap there with the knight. And I think insensitivity can be an issue across the board for the swords, okay? It can look a little bit all very tactical and mean and Machiavellian over here. That's one of the shadows. I don't think this queen wants to pretty things up or sugar the pill for you. Queen of Swords for sure has a reputation for coldness, for definite, and cutthroat antics, you know, when they're operating from a place of shadow. Good at mind games, to be honest, and can be very intimidating and quite authoritarian, making this particular queen seem unapproachable. I think that this queen really does rely on being an authority and can make others feel fearful or, you know, unworthy of getting involved in a conversation. That's definitely a shadow. This queen also is a massive overthinker. This can go to the extreme when this queen is in shadow, and they can end up obsessing and replaying things, you know, which really slows down progress and makes for paranoia and insecurity. King of Swords. Okay, we're nearly at the end of this court. Qualities. Okay, so I think King of Swords often gives a bit of a field marshal energy, you know, a great strategist, someone who thinks in big picture and has thought of all the things and connected all the dots. So very useful pragmatist and realist to have on your team. Not usually prone to overblown fantasies, you know, I think this is definitely a very logical character most of the time, values intelligence, doesn't want to be clouded by emotional whims, and this makes this king very useful when the chips are down and the pressure is on. Because we really want to have that person that's like, look, let's have a look really at what's happening. Let's have a look for truth rather than fantasy, okay? So King of Swords can definitely come in and teach King of Wands a few lessons at times, which is adorable. I think that this king is strong in their convictions and good at arguing for their perspective. You know, definitely good at being objective, impartial, unbiased, all that good stuff, you know? And very good at countering other people's more fraught, emotional responses. When we're thinking about the shadows for King of Swords, there is a bit of overlap with the Queen when it comes to shadow. I think that, like the Queen of Swords, the King of Swords can seem very cold in delivery of words and in conduct during any kind of mission. You know, I don't think that this king, when they're operating in shadow, is really making that much room for people's emotions. Let's face it. Okay, let's just really face it. Not even their own, not even their own emotions, which can be a problem. This king is not likely to try and spare your feelings. They also like to be in charge. This king does not want to share power, you know, a bit tyrannical. I think that this king can be quite good at human chess. In other words, good at getting what they want by maneuvering and convincing others to go the way that is desired by them. Sometimes turning others against each other, you know, creating warring factions that spend more time infighting than reaching their goals, which allows King of Swords to come out on top. So very tactical, good manipulator when they're in shadow. Good at gaslighting, good at twisting your words, you know, seems to be the sensible one while making you out to be some kind of emotionally unstable mess. Do you know what I mean? This king is not above a bit of a dirty fight if it allows them to win. So difficult shadows there, you know, tough shadows there. Ouch. Okay, let's have a look now at fire. The Court of Wands. What is going on there? Love this. I love going through this with you and like sharing my ideas. Please let me know what you think in terms of like, what does the court represent for you personality wise? Is there anything you noticed that I said that you really agree with? Is there anything that you want to add? Let's really go there. I'm excited to know what you think. So yeah, let me know. Okay, so Page of Wands, our lovely fire page. Really, this page is all about self-discovery, exploration, adventure. This is a visionary who is very giddy about the future, seeks inspiration and thrills, you know. I think this page pursues the feeling of freedom and really doesn't let themselves be tied down much. Super curious, probably great to have a good time with, to be honest with you. Very hands-on in trying new things, very experimental, you know, almost a bit avant-garde, a bit out of the box, a maverick, you know, someone that some people are going to be afraid to follow and they're going to be like, oh no, that's way too far off the beaten track. And others are going to be like, oh my God, this is the maverick, visionary, enfant terrible that we've been waiting for, right? Sorry, I butchered that French. So yeah, very exciting, very interested in trying new things, wants to be that clueless tourist as well. Like, I think this page enjoys getting lost, finding out what they don't know and learning it. They're not embarrassed to say, I don't really know, I've never seen that. How do you do, can you explain? You know, they don't mind that. They want to be clueless and open to learn and excited for the adventure. They're not hung up egoically on like, oh, I know what I'm doing. It's like, no, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm in a far-flung place. I don't know the language. Teach me. I'm excited. So I love that about this page. Shadows for Page of Wands, though, definitely a fear of commitment. Okay, this page is a natural traveler, and this page will just move the fuck on and just be like, there's something over there, there's something shiny over there. So not very reliable, bit of uncertainty about goals. And I definitely think that due to wanting to follow their own nose and be that perpetual explorer, they will be hard to pin down and quite self-oriented. It's hard to maintain a close bond sometimes with Page of Wands because they're just so about following the fire of their inspiration. Possibly reckless, thrill-seeking, you know, like chaotic to a degree. Might even change their personality a lot. You know, it's like they don't have a defined sense sometimes of who they are. And there's definitely a tendency to lean into escape, to lean into dreams and fantasy and spiritual excess and travel or hedonism as a way to get away from what really needs to be taken care of. Knight of Wands. Love, love, love this figure in tarot. Impulsive in a very fun way, okay? Fascinatingly unpredictable, creatively charged, this knight. Hungry for experiences and definitely not afraid to bite down into those experiences when they arrive. I think this knight has the kind of intensity that really, really puts them on a mission, like charging ahead with this vision, this fire, this mystical kind of like sense of what is going to happen and how it's going to come together. Very artistic vision. I don't think this Knight gives one singular fuck what people think about them. When this Knight is operating consciously, they are like, ho hum, life's too short, don't really care what you think. You know, so might be a very good influence on someone like King of Pentacles, or, you know, Knight of Pentacles or whatever. Like, I think this this Knight would definitely like lead them towards a little bit more adventure and less insecurity and less rigidity. This Knight is not afraid of being seen. This Knight takes action to really achieve their deepest desires, and there is a fearlessness there, as you could say there is with all the Knights. That is one of their more conscious qualities. Flaws, I mean, to be honest with you, look, Knight of Wands can't be a little bit my way or the highway. I like to think with Dreaming Way that this is Knight of Wands looking back at whoever the fuck wasn't willing to follow them and being like, bye, bye, Felicia. So yeah, not very compromising when they're in shadow. Maybe doesn't see how their unpredictable nature sends out mixed signals sometimes as well. Too much energy, gets very restless, you know. This particular Knight might act out of pocket when they're restless. They might be selfish, you know. They definitely like to be the center of attention, and they may shove you to the side for that reason. Very eccentric and flamboyant, but to the point where they don't realize how much energy and attention they take for themselves in social situations and friendship circles. This Knight can be a limelight guzzler, okay, and can be, you know, almost kind of like so into what is going on with them and their fire and their potency and what they want, that they can forget that they're trying to be a team player, or they're in a relationship, or they're doing something in a collaborative way. And again, this can be, this looking back that this Knight is doing in Dreaming Way can be a sense of like, oh yeah, I forgot there's other people on this mission. Where are they? What are they doing? So yeah, sometimes a little bit like that, just kind of like in their own world in a sense, I guess. Okay, so let's have a look at Queen of Wands. This is a very vivacious queen, okay? Really passionate, emotive, artistic, very fun. Will definitely encourage you in your endeavours. I think of this queen as being very supportive and a bit of a cheerleader when they are operating consciously or positively. Queen of Wands, being the fire queen, brings a very magical, possibly theatrical, and almost certainly alchemical energy to things. This queen is never boring. This queen has big self-belief, and it's infectious, you know. It's not the kind of thing that they're generally keeping to themselves. They want others to have it. I think Queen of Wands really feels that life is there to be lived. This queen enjoys colour, decadence, whimsy, playfulness, fantasy, art, you know, all of that beautiful stuff. So a very exciting queen to have around, really motivating, really kind of inspiring, very innovative queen. What are the flaws with such a wondrous queen, you might ask? Well, my darlings, this queen, being the fire queen, sometimes enjoys courting drama and creating fireworks. Definitely can be a bit of a gossip, definitely can be manipulative when they're in shadow. And I think also Queen of Wands might accidentally sort of like pick you up and drop you quickly when something shinier comes along. I think they share that in common with the Knight, that they're kind of like whooshing around in their full fire, and they kind of forget that, like, you know, people have feelings and needs. I definitely think when this queen is in shadow that they believe their own hype. They can be way, way, way too keen on themselves. Very self-absorbed. I think sometimes this Queen of Wands as well can be a shadow cheerleader. And by that, I mean that they try to encourage you to do things that you don't want to do. They're a bit fucking pushy. They try and jam you into a certain thing before you're even ready, or even before you've said that that's what you want for yourself. So sometimes their vision, their fire vision that they have, is a vision that they have for you, and it can be bolshy and it can be annoying. So that's definitely a shadow. Definitely an attention seeker. Definitely will interrupt you during conversations. These are the shadows, right? These are the more flaws, I think, of Queen of Wands. And I think Queen of Wands sometimes feels, in a way, like everything can be at the expense of artistic creativity or spiritual vision. Like, you know, I think there's definitely a danger with Queen of Wands of, in the shadow of Queen of Wands, of being kind of like, you know, there's a Hunter S. Thompson quote that I've been thinking about again a lot recently, that goes something like, for this one moment of glory to exist, many souls had to be trampled. Queen of Wands can get like that when they're in shadow. They're like, oh, well, ho-hum, never mind. The artistic vision is what matters. The spiritual experience is what, it's sad that some people, have gone through that. But really the main thing is this. And it's kind of like, oh, okay, that's kind of a bit like a cult leader there. So Queen of Wands in shadow. Don't fuck with Queen of Wands in shadow, okay? That's all I'm saying. King of Wands. Let's talk about the qualities. So this king is a visionary, both as a mystic and as an artist, big time creator, big time visualizer, who believes that, they can make things happen and they're not limited by like small-mindedness or by a sense of defeat. There's lots of self-belief here, just in common with the Queen. I think this king has a very high caliber of self-expression. There's a Carl Jung quotation, evil exists in the world because people can't tell their stories. And I think of King of Wands as agreeing with this, King of Wands wants to see the world in openness and fullness, to bring illumination to the dark places, to see the human spirit rise to the fucking occasion, and to really put your mark and your legacy on something before you leave, and to not be afraid of that passion and that fire, So if that passion and that fire comes through in the shadow stuff and in the, the scary art, or the, chilling, or sort of like, I guess, ego death kind of spiritual experiences or whatever, I don't think this king is shying away from that shit. Like, get it all, give it to me, pile it high on a plate and let's have it. I kind of think of King of Wands as being therefore a quarter of extremes, and someone who's not afraid to go through the door first and see what's on the other side, taking, of course, their light with them. Very exciting king. Very, very, has these incredible, fantastical, imaginative leanings that make them very inspiring for you with your particular expression or art or desire to do. Great leader in that regard. What are the flaws, though, for King of Wands? Well, I think King of Wands can be quite bad-tempered or temperamental in general. Definitely puts passions over logic and puts vision over logistics. So with King of Wands, you're going to want like King of Pentacles to come in, or like Knight of Pentacles, and like help King of Wands out sometimes, I think. Or King of Swords and King of Wands, I think, could influence each other well. It's interesting because I think this particular king can be blinded by their own visions. They can be very erratic. They can be self-important when they're in shadow. They can be delusional. They can be unwilling, actually, to see anybody else's truth and dismissive of other people's needs. Definitely restless, definitely a bit manic and unstable emotionally at times, unable to take adequate rest. I think King of Wands might burn the creative candle at both ends. King of Wands might reach for something that's totally unattainable, which leads to ingratitude for what they possess in the here and now. And I think King of Wands can risk equating emotions with the truth. If King of Wands is deeply feeling something, then to them it must be true, which we know is often wrong. Just because you feel jealous doesn't mean there's anything to be jealous of. Just because you feel insecure doesn't mean there's anything, just because you feel suspicious or untrustworthy doesn't mean there's anything there to feel that way about. Sometimes it's about you. And King of Wands might really struggle to see that when they're in shadow. A very, very interesting court there, the fire court. And now let's have a look at the water court. The final set of 16 court cards is the Suit of Cups. And I wonder for how many people this is the favourite. I wonder in general, what is your favourite court? Tell me, I want to know. Mine in general is swords. Fire is up there too, wands. I think swords and wands kind of like take over from each other a little bit. Pentacles and cups are really beautiful courts and I love them, of course. I'm a professional tarot reader. I love all the courts. But those are the ones that I feel less inclined towards personally in my personality type. So, although King of Cups is my favourite king, for real. Okay. The Page of Cups, a beautiful depiction in the Dreaming Way Tarot. Very outgoing page, very friendly, very observational, and likes to take things in. Very interested in people. Don't forget, this is the water page. So we're looking at that connection, that intuition, that bonding, that love, that nurturing, all of those things. So very interested in people, curious about the complexities of emotional experiences, rather than seeking to like define them or shape them or put them in a box. This is a page that has just an inquisitiveness about people, A very open conversationalist, usually, this page, and very generous with time and energy. This page is quite a good space holder, usually. There's someone who's willing to try and understand other people's emotional and spiritual perspectives. This is one of their qualities. They're highly sensitive at times to the needs of others. They can be empathic. They are good at embracing their inner child. They're concerned about pain in the world, and they're also interested in the spiritual nature of reality often. The flaws, though, when we look in the shadows of the page, what's going on there? Well, this page can be quite unguarded. Don't forget, this is the first year of the 4-year degree in the theme of water. So in the first year, you can imagine this page is coming in and is like, no boundaries, no fucking energy management skills, no armor, no shielding, no grounding. So that can definitely be a shadow, and it can make them vulnerable to ill treatment. They can be easily hurt by other people's words and actions. They can be oversensitive. They can be fearful of rejection and failure. This page can be at risk of codependency. Definitely can ignore the depth of their own emotions because they're not equipped to express them, or they become obsessed with expressing them. You know, one or the other. They either repress it or they become completely immersed in it. Sometimes this page needs too much emotional reassurance, to be honest, you know. And sometimes they dive into emotional content without protecting their heart and their mind. Let's have a look at Knight of Cups. Many people's favourite knight. The qualities: courageously vulnerable, this knight. Courageously vulnerable. Very honest about their feelings. Doesn't feel obligated to hold back. This knight goes after what the heart desires in a way that fucking inspires others to do the same. Very empathetic, very compassionate knight, usually. And this knight is a crusader for love and understanding. They are a healing force. They are carrying a healing force with them. They are very giving. They split themselves open rather than just expecting others to split themselves open. And when I say split themselves open, I don't mean self-sacrificially necessarily, but I mean in terms of like, here's me. I bare my heart to you. I'm not going to just hide, you know? I'm going to be me. So there is that courageous vulnerability. Knight of Cups can be someone who really understands what the situation calls for in terms of energy, in terms of emotion, in terms of perhaps even the spiritual insights that are needed. So there's really that strong sense there that Knight of Cups can really play with the energy and manage the energy so that people feel better, and so that there is that sense of healing or that sense of cohesion. So a really interesting knight in that regard. But like all members of the court in every deck, this knight has flaws. So this knight of Cups, definitely struggles to accept when others don't feel the same way. You know, they're so interested in emotional cohesion that they can actually get frustrated if they feel that people are, you know, going in a different emotional direction. They can take it very personally. They might be a bit of an oversharer. They can sometimes be very adamant that they understand someone's feelings without really listening to what that person is saying, you know? So that can be a shadow. The Knight of Cups can experience deep and lasting pain when failing in any particular mission. I think that this knight takes, on average, longer to heal than the other knights. Definitely dwells on mistakes, definitely dwells on losses, you know? I think for this knight, the feelings that occur inside Knight of Cups can be a bit too much for others, you know. The emotions can feel oppressive for others to take on. There's definitely cult leader / drug dealer energy with this knight as well. You know, in other words, when they're in shadow, they can be good at convincing others to swallow their outlook and drink their delusional elixir. And this is not me being like totally anti-spiritual groups or totally anti the ingestion of drugs. I'm neither necessarily, but I'm talking about when we get to that savage part where it's like cult leader or drug pusher, someone who knows damn well that they should not be pushing you, but because they feel that it's a type of ecstasy or a type of illumination for them, they will try and encourage others, you know. I think sometimes Knight of Cups can offer you something that seems promising, but could ultimately be dangerous. Okay, Queen of Cups. Very exciting to get into the Queen of Cups. So this queen is known to be nurturing, known to be compassionate, caring. You know, this queen has that healing ability. A great listener, usually believes that hope and peace are more important than winning and making a point. You know, and this queen will usually be concerned for people's emotional wellness. And this queen gives their whole heart to whatever the endeavor happens to be. This is a queen that tends to mean what they say what they mean. A warm and loving sort of host, if you will, a warm and loving friend and parent. There's a lot of gentleness there. There's also a lot of desire to do what's right when this queen is operating consciously. This queen does not seek to hurt others willingly. They're deeply intuitive. They probably have a very good spiritual capability, good intuition that strengthens them for life. Very introspective, probably a big journaler, you know, that kind of thing. The sensitivity is there, and when it's operating consciously, it's very, very useful, and it's very calming, and again it creates that cohesion, just like what Knight of Cups has. So really beautiful there. But there are flaws too. You know, this queen can come across as quite smothering or infantilizing others. This queen can struggle to ask for help because they see themselves as the helper in every situation, you know, so they mask their own emotions and needs if it might make others uncomfortable. They don't tell others that they're struggling. They take on a lot of emotional labor, which really affects well-being. And Queen of Cups will suffer in silence. Queen of Cups can be a little bit of a martyr, I'm afraid. They can also play the victim, or at least be absolutely convinced that they are always the victim, you know? Queen of Cups can be way too long suffering with other people's toxic behavior, but then they fail at the same time to take accountability for their part in letting that behavior continue. So they definitely can believe that they feel more deeply than everyone else, and they suffer more deeply than everyone else. And that can be a big shadow with this queen. And finally, King of Cups. We've reached the end of our court card explorations. King of Cups is very honest, definitely wearing the heart on the sleeve, not afraid either of other people's honesty. This king confronts emotional issues head on with a clear communication style and firm boundaries when they are operating consciously. Very good at non-violent communication, I think. I think of King of Cups as being in good control of even their deepest and most fraught emotions, and they manage to balance logic with feeling when they're operating consciously, and they encourage others to do the same. Quite caring, compassionate, you know, interested in forming strong bonds and collaborations. Definitely can pull people together by refocusing their attention on shared aims and away from divisive personal grievances. This king, just like the queen, can work with the unconscious mind, good at interpreting dreams and symbols, etc. That kind of thing. And I think this king really loves life as well, you know, loves music, books, food, art, you know, the love extends beyond just human connection. It's all connection. Unfortunately, though, a little bit like some of the fire courts, King of Cups can be temperamental. I think King of Cups can get moody when they're in shadow, prone to unpredictable moods, really sentimental and nostalgic for the past, which overlooks some of the most beautiful things about the present. So I think King of Cups can be, when they're in shadow, they can express ingratitude, you know. They're too busy looking back with the rose-tinted glasses on, darling. King of Cups can lack compassion for themselves while giving other people way too much credit and compassion and benefit of the doubt, you know. So it's like King of Cups can end up taking responsibility for everyone's feelings and then taking it as a personal failure if someone close to them is feeling upset, you know. Like a couple of other characters in various of the elemental courts, King of Cups can be good at emotional manipulation. But I don't think it's so much tactical and mental as it is pulling on the heartstrings, right? Like really going deeply into their emotion so they can make you twist and alter your own emotional response. They can take up a lot of emotional energy when they're in shadow, precisely in order to make you feel that you don't have the right to do that. Okay, so definitely emotional manipulation is there. It's just a little bit different to King of Swords, for example. But King of Cups can also be an expert gaslighter. King of Cups can definitely love bomb you and breadcrumb you into the mix as well. So all of that emotional intelligence can be dangerous if it's used with ill intent. Darlings, I have absolutely loved like sharing a little bit with you about my thoughts on each of the personalities in the court. Please let me know, was this helpful? Did you get anything from it? Do you feel like it clarified things for you a little bit? I know the court can be a little bit sticky, a little bit of a sticky toffee pudding, the court. So let me know. I've really enjoyed explaining some of my thoughts and feelings for you around the court, and just feeling really invigorated by that journey. So yeah, let me know, what is your favorite court card? I'd really be interested, or anything else that you want to express. What is your favorite court in general? Are there any courts that you find a struggle at the moment? Maybe other people could help you out. We could have a little exchange in the comments. If you would like a tarot reading from me, there are a ton of options to choose from over on my website. I'm bringing out new options next year as well. I have so much in the bag when it comes to tarot learning and giving tarot readings. So please come over, get booked into my schedule, enjoy. If you've never had a reading before, or you've never had a reading from me, I'll take good care of you. Okay, don't worry. If you want some mentoring for card slingers, I'm also available for card slinger mentoring as well. I will leave the link to that down below. So much love until next time. And again, thank you to my patrons for selecting this video. Blessed be, my darlings. And yeah, just keep going with that deck. Keep doing what you're doing. It's a very, very beautiful, special, unwinding, unfolding journey. Don't try and rush to the end, because here's a secret from someone who's been reading tarot now since my early teens. Baby, you never get there. You ain't getting there, okay? You're always going to feel like there's more, and that is a gift. That is not a hindrance. That is actually a superpower. Okay. Much love, darlings. Bye for now.